Welcome back ladies, to a brand new box office breakdown show here in 2023. Today I'm going to break down this past weekend, which was December 30th to the new year, January 1st. Breaking down the 2022, still going to talk about the 2022 domestic and worldwide box office numbers, and we're going to preview the upcoming month of January with the upcoming movies that are hitting theaters. My name is Max. Welcome back to a brand new box office breakdown show here on Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, box office breakdown show every single week. So please subscribe, ring the bell. Comment down below. What did you see this past week in theaters? What are you going to see this upcoming week in theaters? Were you one of those people who couldn't go to the movies during Christmas weekend and did choose to go for New Year's? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, please like the video, the thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. So as I said, this is actually my first video here of 2023. One, thank you so much for getting me over 130 subscribers. Let's keep getting that up. Now, this video will be the last video that I will put in the 2022 box office breakdown playlist, as 2 of the 3 days in this breakdown will be in the year of 2022. And really for the next couple of weeks, because there isn't an overflowing of movies coming out in the next month, we're going to be going kind of back and forth, starting really next week with the 2022 and 2023 box office numbers. So stay tuned as more movies come in, the more we'll talk about 2023, but until now, we'll stick with 2022. So kicking off, we had a lot of movies. As I said, during Christmas weekend, there were still pretty solid numbers, but this weekend proved that a lot of people were stuck inside and wanted to go to the theaters, as we have 3 of our top 5 movies actually increased production this past week at the box office. And let's talk about it. Starting in first place, the biggest winner coming out maybe in 2022 is Avatar: The Way of Water. Just in its 3rd weekend in release, it increases its box office by 6% in its 3rd weekend, getting to 67.4 million. It's now up to 425.5 million domestically. This film is definitely, as a lot of these top tier films are, by worldwide. We'll get to that when we get to the worldwide box office, but a 6% increase is another huge milestone for, again, James Cameron. We were talking about last week, what is the sustainability of this film? We talked about how in the first film, it only dropped, I think, 2% in its 2nd weekend. This increases by 6 in its 3rd weekend. And my theaters here, one of the biggest AMCs in the country in Universal City Walk here in Los Angeles, that is still sold out. And we're 3 weeks in. That theater is still getting sold out for IMAX showing. So it seems like people will wait because they want to see this movie in the way that James Cameron's intending it for, in IMAX 3D. So at least over here, people are still dying to see this movie in IMAX 3D. Again, the sustainability is that there's not a lot of, again, we'll talk about the month of January at the end of this video, but not a lot of major things are hitting theaters this month. Avatar has a clear pathway to continue its progress. These are really good numbers for Avatar: The Way of Water. We'll talk about how much it really needs to get to Top Gun Maverick domestically, but still great stuff for James Cameron. We'll talk about a lot more about this movie in a second. In 2nd place, in just its 2nd weekend, is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This also increases by 35% this past weekend, $16.8 million. It's up to $61.2 million. Now, this is not as bankable as I think the film deserves to be. This is definitely one of the best animated films of the year. And this is also trying to bring back the Shrek franchise. Again, this was the first film in 11 years for this franchise. And if you've seen the film, they clearly want to do more, not just with this character, but with the franchise as a whole. And these are the type of numbers that they were not getting. Again, really, all of the Shrek films had great numbers. Puss in Boots did have a drop-off, but still really good numbers. This is obviously going to be one of the lowest, if not the lowest, of the franchise. But we'll see if word of mouth continues to let people check this out in theaters. Universal, sometimes, even if it's a movie succeeding, will only give the movie 17 days in theaters. We're already at that point, and we have not heard anything about it going to digital. So we'll see if this number continues to go up, because, again, the word of mouth is so good for this movie. The 61 is a good number, but I don't think it's a revival of a franchise type number, but we shall see. After missing out of the top 5 for the first time in its 7-week run, now in its 8th week, it moves up to number 3 back into the top 5, which is Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, increasing business by 47%, gets to 5.1 million. It's up to 438 domestically in its 8th weekend. So it's only 13 million in front of Avatar: The Way of Water, and it's been in theaters for 5 more weekends. Just shows you the level of Avatar's success. But this is still very good numbers for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. As I said last week, just missed out on the top 5 and increased by a lot. The rumor is that in the next week or two, they will release this movie with no extra cost on Disney Plus, either the 13th or I think the 20th, I think are the 2 dates that are kind of being thrown out there. So we'll see if that rumor kind of being talked about will stop people from going back to see this movie in the theater. For 7 of its 8 weeks, it is in the top 5. The 2 movies that did not increase business, unlike most of the movies that are in the top 10 this weekend. At number 4 is the Whitney Houston biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody. It dropped 17% in its second weekend, $3.9 million. It's up to 14.5. This is, again, really bad numbers for Whitney Houston. This is from Sony Pictures. I think I talked about this last week. No real Oscar buzz with this movie whatsoever. There's not a lot of great talk about it. The audience scores around Tomatoes are 90%, but there's no audience scores for Cinema Score for this movie, and the critics are rotten on this movie. So there's not a lot of good word of mouth, and it just feels like no one is talking about this movie. No one's talking about Naomi Ackie as Whitney Houston. So I think this film not having any momentum in award season, I think will cost it from making any real money at the box office. And wrapping up the top 5 in its second weekend, dropping off 28%, is Paramount's Babylon, $2.6 million. It is now up to 10 million in 2 weekends. A really complete bomb all the way around, $110 million budget, a film that's over 3 hours long, that is not being received by critics, and it's definitely not being received well by audiences. Not a good look, because Paramount really has had probably one of the most successful years for any studio this year, especially consistency. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick winning it all, but having films like Scream and Jackass Forever and The Lost City and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 all being pretty big successes for Paramount. This is a pretty big, not a good way to go out for them in 2022. Again, the Golden Globes have a lot of buzz for this film, but not a lot of other big award shows have this film featured in their awards. So we'll see if, when we get closer to Oscar nominations, if they get some nominations, we'll see if people go back to the theater. But the fact that it came out the week after another 3-hour plus movie came out, I don't think people are going to go back to the theater and see back-to-back weekends of movies well over 3 hours. So that's kind of the situation for Babylon. When we get to our overall, we're going to stay here in 2022 for our domestic box office. Again, even though these numbers are still in 2023, they're 2022 movies, so they still count all their 2023 numbers do go into their overall box office, of course. Top Gun Maverick, number 1 domestically with $718 million. Avatar: The Way of Water is at $448 domestic as of we're speaking now on a Tuesday. Some people are saying this is a big misfire for Avatar, that they're not even close right now to Top Gun domestically. But if you look at both films, and we'll talk about how Avatar more likely will be passing Top Gun worldwide, Top Gun is very much an American movie, and it made up most of its money here in the United States, while Avatar is much more worldwide reach, and that's why it'll probably pass Top Gun Maverick at the worldwide box office very soon. We'll talk about that, but Avatar number 2. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever just passing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness now, so it's the most successful movie of the year domestically for the MCU. 439. Doctor Strange got up to 411. That film just missed out on $1 billion. Jurassic World Dominion number 5 at 376. Again, that film 376 domestic, but it got to $1 billion worldwide. Minions: The Rise of Gru at 369, as well as The Batman at 369. Thor: Love and Thunder number 8 with 343. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at number 9 is at 190. Black Adam at number 10. So that's this year's top 10. The other $100 million films this year: Elvis, Uncharted, Nope, Lightyear, Smile. The Lost City, and Bullet Train. So still 18 movies in 2022 got to $100 million. I think that we have a big chance to probably pass that this year with a lot of these big time releases coming out, especially early in the year. Overall, when you look at the overall top 10 domestic, Paramount's getting 2 into the top 10 with Top Gun Maverick and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Black Adam and The Batman get in for Warner Brothers Discovery, their 2 films. Everything else, and also Universal getting in there with both Jurassic World Dominion and Minions, The Rise of Gru. So 6 of the top 10 non-Disney, but Avatar, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Thor all getting in there for under the Disney umbrella. So Disney still wins the year with 4 of the 10, but other studios getting 2, and Paramount and Universal having big winners as well this year. When we get to worldwide, Top Gun Maverick is, as of now, still the biggest movie of the year, but it's not by a lot at the moment. It is around, trying to make sure here to make sure, it's around $44 million worldwide to pass Top Gun Maverick. That will be beaten probably by the time I talk to you next week, definitely by the time I talk to you next week. And so it's 1.487 for Top Gun. Avatar's at 1.44 at the moment. So Avatar: The Way of Water will be the biggest movie of 2022. Top Gun currently sitting at the 11th biggest movie of the of all time. Avatar: The Way of Water looks like it'll probably get into the top 10 movies of all time worldwide. And that means James Cameron will have both Avatar films in the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. Just another cherry on top, and everyone kept doubting James Cameron. Could this film? And yes, this film is bringing in a boatload of money, and it's not stopping yet. The question is, could it get to $2 billion? That's kind of the big question here moving forward for Avatar: The Way of Water. Becomes the third billion-dollar movie of the year. Jurassic World Dominion coming in third place with $1 billion. Doctor Strange number 4 with 952. Minions: The Rise of Gru at 937. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever at 820. The Batman at 767. Thor: Love and Thunder at 760. So 8 of the 10 films in the worldwide are from the United States. 2, the 9 and 10 movies of the year worldwide are from China. Again, looking at studios, Paramount had a $1 billion movie, Disney with the $1 billion movie, and Universal with a $1 billion movie. The rest of the Disney has their other MCU films. 3 MCU films are also in the top 8, as well as Warner Brothers only having 1 film in the top 10 worldwide with The Batman, and Universal grabbing Minions: The Rise of Gru and Jurassic World Dominion. So that's overall 2022's box office. Before we go, we're going to preview the month of January, as this is the first upcoming month of the year. This will be on the box office breakdown for 2023. I created a new playlist for that. So the movie's coming out this week, coming out on Wednesday, finally releasing its widest release will be A Man Called Otto, trying to get some award buzz for Tom Hanks. The biggest release, though, of the weekend is on Friday. That is for a horror film called Megan. That's hitting wide release on Friday, as well as in limited release, Women Talking and 80 for Brady. Also coming out this month, January 12th, which is, again, coming out next Thursday, is Operation Fortune, the new Guy Ritchie film that's coming out on January 12th. House Party and Plane come out on January 13th on the month. January 20th in limited release is The Sun, and in wide release, Missing, the sequel to Searching. And that is January. Again, January is really the dumping ground for movies, and that continues to be the case. There's not any major releases. I think Megan coming out this Friday is the biggest release of the month of January. It's February, March, April, and summer. It is huge. So this is kind of our resting period before we get into the big movies. But we'll have tons of videos here on the channel here, especially in 2023. But upcoming week here on the channel coming out tomorrow will be my first 2 spoiler reviews. One spoiler review of the first 2 episodes of season 2 of The Bad Batch. That'll be coming out tomorrow. I'll be seeing Megan on Friday, so I'm going to do a review of that film and another box office breakdown show next week. I'll see you guys.